Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Mo Ray. This is The Other Side, and I want to thank the guys at Coca's Pizza for sponsoring this and other programs that we're doing here. We're finally starting to attract some attention, and I'm glad. I'd like to attract your attention. If you'd like to give us a call at 330-595-1600, I'd like to hear from you because there's a whole lot going on in the news, whether or not we're talking about the Breonna Taylor situation, which we will be talking about, or whether we're talking about the president of the United States not committing to a peaceful transition of power. Now, of course, he's been stirring this pot for some time, questioning the electoral system, which is not what you expect from a leader. A leader should be trying to encourage faith in our institutions, not make you wonder if it's going to be fair, not telling you it's a hoax. And by the way, as I've stated before, several phrases I hope I never hear again if this guy loses. I don't want to hear about the deep state. I don't want to hear about a hoax. I don't want to hear about fake news. I don't want to hear that we've done things no one else has ever done before. I don't want to hear any of that. I just want to get back to normal. And I think that's what a lot of people want in this country. But what's not so normal is in the shooting of Breonna Taylor. The interesting thing is only one cop was charged, and he wasn't even charged with shooting her. But I'll let Laura O'Donnell explain that with the opening of yesterday's CBS Evening News.
Kentucky. As we come on the air, protesters and police are clashing there. The National Guard is on alert, and the city is under a mandatory curfew after a grand jury decided not to indict 3 police officers in the shooting death of Breonna Taylor. The 26-year-old emergency room technician was shot 6 times in her apartment back in March by plainclothes police serving a drug warrant. Well, today, Kentucky's attorney general said 2 of the officers were justified when they fired the shots that killed her. Now, a 3rd officer will face lesser charges, not for Taylor's death, but for firing shots into her neighbors' homes. The killing of Breonna Taylor gained renewed attention this summer in the wake of George Floyd's death, as cries of "Say Her Name" became part of a nationwide movement for social justice and police reform. She's graced the cover of O magazine, and her cause was championed by athletes and celebrities. And tonight, there is once again anger and frustration on the streets of Louisville from those who feel justice has not been done. There's a lot of new reporting to get to tonight. We've got our team of correspondents standing by. CBS's Jerika Duncan is going to lead us off tonight from Louisville. Good evening, Jerika.
Good evening, Nora. As the news spread, the number of demonstrators here at Jefferson Park grew. You can hear them chanting right now, "Black Lives Matter." Many of them said that the moment they realized that no officer was going to be charged directly with the killing of Breonna Taylor, tears were shed, voices raised. There was a wave of palpable disappointment.
This is why we are angry.
Immediately after the decision was announced, there was an explosion of emotion.
We've been out here for over 100+ days. This is ridiculous. You know, it's not fair. At the end of the day, like, how much is a black woman's life worth?
Demonstrators took to the streets. Late this afternoon, protesters clashed with police. As the chanting continued in Louisville, 50 miles away in Frankfort, Kentucky, Attorney General Daniel Cameron said he followed the facts.
Sometimes the criminal law, is not adequate to respond to a tragedy.
The grand jury concluded former officer Brett Hankison, who wildly fired 10 shots, endangered the lives of 3 people who were inside an apartment near Breonna Taylor's. Officers Jonathan Mattingly and Miles Cosgrove, who fired the fatal shot at Taylor, will not face state criminal charges.
According to Kentucky law, the use of force by Mattingly and Cosgrove was justified to protect themselves. This justification bars us from pursuing criminal charges in Miss Breonna Taylor's death.
Come outside.
Taylor was killed in the early morning hours of March 13th as police were executing a search warrant. Her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, says he believed the police were intruders. He fired a single shot that hit Mattingly. Police then returned fire, hitting Taylor 6 times.
Somebody kicked in the door and shot my girlfriend.
Taylor's family attorney, Ben Crump, called the decision outrageous and offensive.
I mean, a life cut far too short. A life pregnant with possibilities.
Today's decision means no one will face state charges in Breonna Taylor's death, a fact that is fueling the crowd's response.
So that kind of brings you up to date. And by the way, overnight, 2 police officers were shot and a suspect has turned himself in. I'm going to try to find out on the next break. I've heard rumors on who that suspect was. I've heard it might, even though that was a protest and there were Black Lives Matter people involved, but before we're done here today, I'll be able to tell you for sure. But the person that actually did the shooting was not a Black Lives Matter member, as far as I'm aware. And as I said, I will confirm that before we're done here today. But so 2 police officers were shot. Apparently there was some small fires set, but no buildings were burned down last night. I can understand the people's aggravation in this, that basically it seems that the walls of the apartment were more important than Breonna Taylor. Of course, bullets going through an apartment wall could kill somebody on the other side of that wall. So that's why that particular officer was charged. But the other 3 officers involved, not charged, because as the Attorney General explained, under Kentucky law, there is, because they thought their lives were being threatened, after that first shot where the one cop was hit in the leg, the other cops were justified to return fire. But the thing that bothers some people in all this is that Breonna Taylor ended up with 6 bullets in her, and she wasn't doing anything except trying to figure out who's coming in her apartment. And because, by the way, that's another thing, there seems to be, the facts are trickling out. Early story said she was killed in her bed. Apparently she was standing in the hallway behind her boyfriend as they were trying to see what was going on. And that's when she was hit. But so this woman shot 6 times. I will say the city of Louisville has paid a significant settlement to the family. I believe it was $21 million, and that would be a record. But $21 million will not bring back your daughter or your sister, your friend. But there were no drugs found in the apartment. Apparently, whatever they came there for wasn't there. And there's a dead woman, yet nobody's in trouble, really, directly. That officer that did the fatal shooting was fired, but his charge is a Class D misdemeanor. It's something like, well, it's not that serious. Let's put it that way. I mean, a felony is a felony, but that's, a lot of people are talking about trying to have every cop arrested that was involved and all that. That is not to be, and I hope people will take a look at the law as it is. By the way, that Attorney General, the guy at the end, interesting fact, he is actually related by marriage to Mitch McConnell. He is married to Mitch McConnell's niece. Small world after all. And so, but I'm not mad at that guy because he's working with what he had. Some of these cases, it looks like, oh, that's murder, plain and simple, when maybe not. Maybe because of the laws. Every state has their own set of laws regarding matters like this. And apparently the law, as it was written, doesn't, well, it didn't serve Breonna Taylor. It didn't give her justice. But I hope that people can maintain their composure, take other routes. I don't really know any other routes you can take. Those other guys are not going to be charged. That's a done deal. And I heard an interview as latest today where a family friend was an excellent spokesman, by the way, but she was saying she wants those cops in jail. Well, it's not going to happen. And I hope the people in the street will settle down and realize that this is another case where justice was deferred, and it is what it is. What, have I got a call? Oh, thought I had a call at 330-595-1600. That would be nice.
Back room and give you
No. Well, I can see you right here. Okay. No. All right. But so we'll watch how this evolves. By the way, the cops who were shot by, and I'll try to look for that. Well, this is not that long of a clip, so I won't look for it here. But during the next long clip, I will try to find out if about the person that was arrested, because that's breaking news. But one cop is doing pretty good. The other one is in surgery, but expected to recover fully. So thank goodness for that. But the other big story is that the president of the United States was asked a pretty simple question, and his answer, well, it got a lot of people, it surprised a lot of people. This should have been a yes or no, but instead the president, being the president, answered in this fashion.
Will you commit to making sure that there is a peaceful transferal of power after the election?
Well, we're going to have to see what happens. You know that I've been complaining very strongly about the ballots, and the ballots are a disaster.
I understand that, but people are rioting. Do you commit to making sure that there's a peaceful transferal of power?
We want to get rid of the ballots, and we'll have a very peaceful. There won't be a transfer, frankly. There'll be a continuation. The ballots are out of control. You know it. And you know who knows it better than anybody else? The Democrats know it better than anybody else. Go ahead.
Will you commit to make...
And once again, you know, the president does this thing where he says everybody knows. No, everybody doesn't know that the ballots are corrupt. The only one saying that is Donald Trump, and he says it a lot. But, you know, once again, that is in opposition to our system. The leader of the free world should be upholding the institutions of this country, not putting them into question, as he does time and time again. Like during his impeachment, he questioned the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, but he trusted Putin. In this case, he's trying to say that there's all this voter fraud when I don't care. Even conservative groups that have researched this come up with very low evidence of voter fraud. So that is just... and then to complicate things further, because of the significant number of mail-in ballots that will be used this time, this election, well, we won't know the results necessarily on election night. It could be a day or two after the election because they've got to count those mail-in ballots. And they may be, you know, that night they may be able to say, hey, things are leaning toward Trump or leaning toward Biden. I hate this, though, because this man lacks integrity. He doesn't care if he burns the whole country down with his suppositions and his BS. So he would have 2 days, if not 3 days, to speculate, if not just outright say he's being ripped off. And of course, some of his supporters hang on his every word. Rather than look at the facts involved, they would take his word for it that he's being screwed. So of all the presidents to have in a situation like this, he is the worst. Hopefully, the results are quickly tabulated and we know very soon. Certainly not on November 3rd, but certainly, hopefully by the next day, we've got a pretty good idea who the president of the United States is going to be going forward. And of course, if you've watched this program or listened, you know I'm hoping that's Joe Biden. Now, by the way, Joe Biden got another endorsement yesterday from another Republican. Might have heard of her. Her name is Cindy McCain, the widow of John McCain. And I can't blame her for that, the way the current president has treated the memory of John McCain, the way he treated him during his life, and the way he continued to insult him months after his death, torturing his family. They made it very clear that those remarks were hurtful, yet the president never eased up because that's the kind of person he is. But also, as far as that peaceful transition of power, can you put that up? So, okay. So Rob Portman today issued this tweet, and he said, throughout American history, the peaceful transition of power has been a hallmark of our democracy. This year, both candidates must commit to abiding by the results, no matter what the outcome. Under our system, the American people decide through their votes, the political leaders follow the will of the people. Oh, and the political leaders, pardon me, follow the will of the people. The peaceful transition of power is essential to this constitutional guarantee and must be protected. So the president is not called out by name there, but you have a Republican senator, that is our Republican senator here in Ohio, Rob Portman, who's never been known for his profiles in courage, at least acknowledging the obvious, that just because we've got a president who is a Looney Tune, it doesn't mean that our system that's worked so well for almost 250 years needs to be overhauled. We will wait for those results, and the loser should abide by those results. There shouldn't be any of this nonsense that we're hearing. I noticed earlier Trump coup was trending on Twitter. You've got Roger Stone, that 7-time convicted felon whose sentence was commuted by the president, who's saying that the president should declare martial law. You know, this is insane. These are the same people that try to accuse Obama and people like that of treason, yet you've got these folks calling for the president to declare martial law and stay in the Oval Office no matter what. We'll see what happens, folks, but this is not hyperbole. I believe for the next few weeks, the future of this republic are at risk. The future of this republic is at risk, I should say, because I think that this president and his supporters, and by the way, I think there's some loonies on the left that could cause some problems too. Whoever wins, wins as far as I'm concerned, and that should be the end of it, no matter which way you lean. Because when you get into questioning the system, that's when problems start. And that's why I say Donald Trump is very dangerous as president of the United States to constantly cast aspersions at our electoral system, when the evidence would indicate that it's pretty secure and that there are some states that have been mailing ballots in for decades without any problems. And as one guy from the Postal Service said, you know, if you're worried about this big uptick in mail, I've got one word for you: Christmas. We handle that very well every year. So even though you've also got the situation with Trump's man, DeJoy there, it looks like DeJoy himself said there'd be no major changes in the postal system until after the election. So let's trust in the institutions that have served us well all these years. And let's trust that anytime you hear the president trying to question them, well, that's just a red herring. Don't pay attention to that. What I see is a president who must be afraid. He must, even though he laughs at the polls, he must be a little nervous that his support in the suburbs is weakening. That you've got groups like Republican Voters Against Trump. You have organizations like the Lincoln Project. These are Republicans who are saying they're going to vote for Joe Biden over the current president. He has his solid base, but it appears that he's in a little bit of trouble. And I think even though he always puts on the brave face and insults everyone else, I think what you're seeing here is a manifestation of his fears. But let's listen to some civics advice from a real president. This is from Now This, and everything he's saying is true. This election is very important, and Barack Obama tells you why.
You've heard a lot about the presidential race, maybe too much. But there's a lot more that'll be on the ballot this fall. Senators and representatives in Washington, state legislators, governors, mayors, and in this election, the state leaders we elect will help redraw electoral districts all across the country. I think people don't completely appreciate how much gerrymandering affects the outcome. You can draw a district that almost guarantees one party is going to win instead of another, because you have voter histories and you have a sense of where people are typically going to vote. And what that means is that immigration reform, where we should have been able to get a law passed through Congress, we couldn't get passed because we didn't have the votes necessary in the House. After Newtown and the devastating shootings of children, there was an outraged country that was prepared and ready and eager to see us make some changes so that our young people and our children could go to school safely. A president can propose legislation, a president can fight for legislation, a president can argue for legislation, but ultimately it's the Congress that passes legislation and makes it into law. Those maps will stand for 10 years. That could mean a decade of fairly drawn districts where folks have an equal voice in their government, or it could mean a decade of unfair partisan gerrymandering. I think about these issues a lot because before I was president, I was representing a slice of Chicago as a state senator in Springfield, Illinois. One of the great things about state legislators is that, unlike in Washington, where sometimes there's so much obstruction, it takes so much time to get stuff done. In state legislators, you see a problem, you may be able to get it fixed right then and there because it's on a smaller scale. And a lot of the stuff day to day that has an impact on people really does happen on that local level. Lately, we've been seeing how critical these decision makers are to our day-to-day lives. They can determine our local pandemic response, or lack thereof. They can work to improve policing strategies, or make things worse. They can work to protect your vote or try to silence you. So this year, educate yourself on the candidates at every level on your ballot. They can make a profound impact on your community and our country. Go to iwillvote.com to get registered or confirm your status. Vote early and in person if you can. If you're voting by mail, request your ballot now, today, and send it back immediately. Then follow up to make sure it's received. And tell your friends and family to do the same. Because this November couldn't be more important. Let's do this.
Yeah, let's do this, folks. And I know that ran a little long, but I want you to think about this. This goes way bigger than the presidential race, as he explained, and you see that some of these districts, by the way, both parties do it, but some of these districts have been drawn in such a fashion that the Republican or the Democrat, but of course the Republicans are really drawing the maps right now, and the Republican could stay there at least for another 10 years if he wanted to, he or she. I think and as one thing Obama said there is that when you have a district drawn that way, they can act like Trump. They can just play to their base. They don't have to be concerned with the other people in the district because they're not going to be they're not going to have that much of effect on the race anyway. You say, wait a minute, what are you telling me? My vote doesn't count? No. I'm telling you, your vote counts very much. And I'm telling you, just like former President Obama just said, this vote matters very much because of those districts that need to be redrawn in a more fair fashion. And if Democrats are in charge, that will happen. And by the way, my problem with both parties is what could also happen is that if Democrats were to win the White House and, as many are predicting, take the Senate, then Democrats might overreach and they might draw some districts the same way to their great advantage. This is nothing new, but it seems that it's intensified in the last, I would say, 10 years. And not to mention with the rise of the internet and that kind of thing, they're able to do a pretty surgical redrawing of these districts based strictly on, where a guy might look at a map and say, well, okay, this and, we've got this, we've got that. A computer can look at that same map and they can give you instant readouts on racial composition, voting habits, all that stuff. So you can draw your district just perfectly to benefit your party. So think about that, folks. This is real stuff. But here's something interesting that's happening, and I'm so glad about this. This is when I feel that I'm getting personally involved because I donate to political campaigns, and I'm not just in the state of Ohio. I've donated to the opponent of Lindsey Graham, and Lindsey Graham was on Fox and Friends whining. I'll use that word. He's nervous because he had a double-digit lead ahead of Jamie Harrison, the Democrat, and now in many polls, it's neck and neck.
My opponent will raise almost $100 million, Ainsley, in the state of South Carolina. The most money ever spent in the history of the state on a Senate race was by me in 2014 when I spent $13 million. He raised $6 million from the time Justice Ginsburg passed away within 72 hours. And God bless Justice Ginsburg. We're celebrating her life. I appreciate waiting to Saturday to announce the replacement, but I'm being killed financially. This money is because they hate my guts.
Well, I can't argue with that because Lindsey Graham used to be more of a moderate, but it seems that once John McCain died, Lindsey became a very different person. Here's a guy who once called the president of the United States a kook and said he had racist tendencies, and now they're golfing buddies. And maybe that's why the people of South Carolina are having second thoughts about him. He's been a loyal servant to the president, but you know, you got to also look at the fact that South Carolina is 30 or more % black. And the Democrat running versus Lindsey Graham happens to be a black man. Maybe that's working in his favor. But also there's been a lot of outside money, as you heard Lindsey Graham say just there. Let's take a look at these polls. This is from 531. Is it 531? Oh, 538. 538. Okay. Oh, there it is in big letters. Okay. Pardon-moi. Okay. So are the, is it up now? Yes. Okay. So let's take a look. We've got, so you've got, I can't see the screen. I want to see where we're at here. Just a minute. Oh, I guess I'm doing a manual. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So you have we'll look at the presidential first real quick. Joe Biden's behind in South Carolina, obviously, but there you have Harrison. Now, in which poll is that? That is the Morning Consult poll where Harrison is 45, Graham is 46. It's that close, folks. But then scroll, go down to, yeah, right. There you go. There, and you have on the, which poll is this? This is Morning Consult as well. Oh, no, pardon me. This is Quinnipiac. And Quinnipiac says, yeah, there we go. Quinnipiac has Biden behind as well. So, but I'm not surprised there. We're in the deep South and a Democrat hasn't won there in a little while. So Biden is behind Trump 45 to 51. But Harrison, there's that neck and neck I was talking about. And Quinnipiac is is pretty reliable. And one more there, that's from the public policy polling. That's right above that one, right? Yes. And that one has Harrison that it's within the margin of error, 44 for Harrison, 47 for Graham. But there are some polls out there. You can come back to me. There are some polls out there that has Harrison even ahead. So I've sent money to the Harrison campaign, and then you heard all that money came in after Ginsburg's death. So, you know, it's in play. This is a seat that shouldn't have been in play. Lindsey Graham's been around a long time, and the people of South Carolina appear to be having second thoughts. But as I've stated also in the past, I think this election will energize some people who weren't excited by Hillary Clinton, people who just decided, well, doesn't matter who wins. I think they've had 4 years to look at Donald Trump and his behavior. They've had time in the last few months to look at the way he handled this pandemic. And I think some of these people are they're motivated. Of course, the Trump crowd is very motivated. You know they're motivated because, like on the way over, there's a truck with 2 Trump flags hanging off the back, or you go by a guy's house and he's got 5 Trump signs on a banner. I don't understand that cultishness, and that's what it is to me. I mean, for me, I put a yard sign in and I'm done. These people have to turn their house into, I don't know what you'd call it, but I don't need all that stuff up on my house to say who I'm voting for. But the point is, please get out there and vote. And we're coming up fast. You have got to be registered to vote by, I believe it's October 5th. You want to check on that. You want to be sure that you're registered. Let's get it done. And then I personally am going in person on the first day. I'm going early. I'll be prepared to stand in line a long time if that's what it takes. I want to make sure it's done. You can fill out your ballot and drop it in a drop box, which is at all district boards of election, but get it done. As the president said, it's time, as President Obama said, I should say. And let's just get it done. And you know what would be great if some of these wins could be very convincing. There's no question Joe Biden won this state by this many points and that kind of thing. Right now, Biden's looking pretty good in Michigan. One poll has him tied in Ohio. I'm still very nervous about Ohio because when you ride out in the country and you see all those Trump flags and signs, you know the president, the current president, has a lot of support here. But PA is kind of shaky. It could go either way. The cities are big time for Biden, but the rural areas are what I'm concerned with when it comes to that. So anyway, we'll see what happens. Forgot what's up next. Oh, okay. The thing is, though, as I said, Trump's base is, man, they are solid behind him. And it's been a while since we had anything from Randy Rainbow. And let's lighten things up a little bit. And Randy Rainbow borrows a tune from the Jonas Brothers. Their song was called Sucker. His tune is called Suckers.
Joining me now is White Nationalist Weekly centerfold and President of the United States, Donald Jessica Trump. Mr. President, you have a long history of using race and ethnicity as a political wedge, but it seems you have now gone full Archie Bunker.
And yet I won, and I'll win again.
Calm down, bitch. Your Twitter attacks on 4 Democratic congresswomen of color incited xenophobic chants at a rally you recently held.
It's very sad.
Well, what's really sad is that your poll numbers seem to have gone up and, you still have a strong support system. I mean, who the hell are these people?
If you look at Twitter, I have millions and millions of people on Twitter.
Ariana Grande has more.
And I never get good press. I mean, I haven't had a good story. I used to get the best press in the world. You remember the old days when I was an entrepreneur. I used to get great press. Now I get, because of what I stand for, represent.
Intolerance, bigotry, and the all-day breakfast menu at McDonald's?
And nobody's ever had, I think 93%. It came out the other day, 93%. And I'm talking about stories that should be good, they make them bad, or...
You're freaking crazy. Inhuman, merciless, extreme, and unfiltered. Oh, and also lazy. Yeah. So I can't help but be just slightly bewildered.
And I'll win again.
That your followers stick with you, whatever the hell you do. No matter how hard you screw them, they won't quit. Girl, your presidency's a mess, your policies are BS, but they let you get away with it. 'Cause they're suckers for you. I guess it pays to be conniving and cunning, 'cause they're suckers for you. Yeah, keep blowing dog whistles and watch them come running, 'cause they're suckers for all of the criminal shame-worthy things that you do. And they love all the mythical fake propaganda you spew. Yes, you, 'cause they're suckers for you.
I'm glad that the president said what he said.
They've all been blinded. They think it's fine that you take climate change lightly. And they don't mind it. That you have phone sex with Sean Hannity nightly. They love your racist, sexist chants, your monosyllabic rants. If you can't keep it in your pants, it's no big deal. You validate their hate and fears, and it's music to their white ears. And then they say, hey, he's just being real. 'Cause they're suckers for you. When you say stupid things, they rush to explain them. 'Cause they're suckers for you. Yeah, they should just shut up and go back where they came from. Atco, New Jersey. And all the subliminal race-baiting bullshit you do is making it cool for your base to act criminal too. Who knew? So they're suckers for you. And as we look ahead to 2020, I'm joined now by a very special guest, Senator Lindsey Graham, circa 2015. LG, what's your take on Donald Trump and the rhetoric he uses to rile his base?
The way he is conducting himself is contrary to the values I hold as a Republican, and I think most of us accept as a nation.
and I will not be part of this.
And if you'll excuse me, Senator, I'd now like to welcome a very special guest, Senator from South Carolina and Patti LuPone enthusiast, present-day Lindsey Graham.
Thank you.
Lindsey, what is your take on Donald Trump's racist rhetoric?
I think the president did a fabulous job of talking about this problem. He did it in a smart way, in a compassionate way. Mr. President, you're the right guy at the right time. You can do it. Nobody else has been able to do it, and I want to help you.
So awkward. They love your incoherent tweets, the hamburgers that you eat. They worship down at your feet like sewer rats. You could kick puppies till they cried, or make Kim Jong-un your bride, and they'd all still rock their MAGA hats, 'cause they're suckers for you. And all the empty broken promises you made, they're just suckers for you. Blah. You got them thirsty and they're drinking your Kool-Aid. Girl, they're suckers for all the despicable things that you're putting us through, you. And they love how you stick up for bros, phony criminal fools. Oh, like you, 'cause they're suckers for you.
It's a terrible thing that's taking place.
They're all suckers for you. Yeah, they're suckers for you.
And I'll win again.
Calm down, bitch.
Well, I certainly hope he's wrong, but now I'll have that song stuck in my head all day. But, you know, that's... Oh, by the way, let me take a look at the screen real quick. Hello, Debbie. Debbie says now he'll have the Supreme Court to back him up. The article in the Atlantic gave me chills. Right, there's a lot of... And I've got to look at that article again, because there's an article that is... saying pretty much how this whole thing would work out. You could tell that the president is counting on being able to, right now we've got 8 Supreme Court justices. If there were any, like a situation that occurred with George W. Bush and Al Gore, you don't want to have 8 justices to make that decision. A lot of people say the Supreme Court probably shouldn't have gotten involved in that anyway. But if we had another situation like that, it is pretty important that we have 9 justices. But how convenient that this president will be the one to appoint that justice. And that, you know, but let's try to hope. You got John Roberts, who's supposed to be a conservative, and every now and then he does something that is not like Fox News territory. He does the right thing because that's his interpretation of the law. So just because all these people are there, sometimes they pick these people. And you think, oh, you know, let's put it this way. The Supreme Court is not Bob Barr, the Attorney General. The president finally got an Attorney General who disregards the law in some cases to the president's benefit. But I don't think you're going to see that here. But if there is a contested presidential race, it's imperative that the court be fully staffed. And, well, we'll see what happens. I don't think that's necessarily, you know, and by the way, once again, I'll say this that I said the other day. Democrats need to be careful. Choose your battles. This is a battle you can't win. The next Supreme Court justice will be a conservative. End of story. There's nothing you can do to stop that. You don't have the numbers in the Senate to make anything go away. And going out in the streets is certainly not going to do it. It might even injure Democrats and other races. So you need to think clearly. This is a done deal. Just take a big swallow and let's move on. Let's not go Kavanaugh, because as I said, I think by November you'll be regretting that. But speaking of regret, I think some of these people might have some regrets before it's all over. Once again, we're going back to a Trump rally, and we're going to talk to a few people and ask them, why aren't you wearing a mask?
I feel like that's my freedom as an American. If I catch COVID, that's the consequences of my actions. So I'm willing to take that risk and have a good time today.
You're going to have thousands of people together. You're already tightly packed while you're in line. Do you guys feel comfortable with that from a health perspective?
100%, because I don't buy into the bullshit.
I'm not afraid of the health risk for us being healthy. Also, we make smart decisions. We do have people that we know that are higher risk, and we will not be visiting them. We'll absolutely make sure that we stay away from them.
This is not a dictatorship. This is a republic.
and we have a right to be who we are and take whatever risks we so desire. I could cross the street and get hit by a bus tomorrow.
I'm not a sensationalist. I think people who are forced to wear masks, they're sensationalists. You're wearing a mask right now because you want to give off that vibe of doing something right. Doing something right is being here, being patriotic, cheering for my country, and rooting for my president.
Okay, so we'll see what happens if they live to regret that. Let's remember they're at that same, well, it wasn't at the Tulsa rally. Let's remember Herman Cain attended the president's rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and within days he was sick and he didn't make it. And we'll know. I'm trying to get a name on this person who was arrested. I'm going back to the Breonna Taylor story that we opened with. And are they naming this person? Hold on just a second. Giving me the officers. Let's see. Wow, I'm sorry. We're in real time here, but I did promise you this answer. And maybe they haven't released the suspect's name. They definitely have someone in custody. Let's see. No, I can't find it there. Suspect under arrest. You're not going to give me a name of this guy? Come on. Let's see. All right. You know what? And while we got a little bit of time, I think I'm going to send this video to you. Okay. And you can get that up. Uh-oh. Well, I'm not going to do it that way. All right. Yeah. I'll just play it off my phone. All right. Okay. Hold on, guys. And forgive me, but when you're doing this stuff live, sometimes it doesn't always go the way you like. As far as I know, they don't have a name. Watch your news coming up shortly. They should have a name for you, let you know what's going on with the shooting of 2 police officers. Both are expected to survive. But my angle on this was, I don't think this is who you thought it arrived. I don't think I heard it. Anyway, I don't think this is what you thought it was. In fact, yeah, if you could play that one over this one, even if you, okay. But it is curious to see what happens there. And the people who want to pretend there's not a race issue in this country amaze me. When you can, I don't know, when you can shoot somebody and walk away with basically a wrist slap, I think. I mean, yeah, the guy lost his job. He was charged in his charge was totally unrelated to the death of Breonna Taylor. Just makes you wonder. And I'm not saying, her boyfriend was a troublemaking kind of guy, but that particular night, he wasn't holding any drugs. There was no, I don't know, whatever they were looking for, they didn't find. But they did take someone's life, and it appears that no one's going to really pay for that. But I hope that the people in Louisville and elsewhere will not resort to violence, because it's never the answer. Speaking of which, this is some footage from New York Times, and this was last night in Louisville.
Go right!
Right there. Officer down. Right there. Officer down? Yes. Yes. Okay. What do you want to do? Hold. Right here. Right here. Hold. We got an officer down. Officer down. They're backing officers out.
Officer down.
Take cover. Officer down. Take cover. Watch those right here. They're going to double back on us right here down this alley. We got one down. We got one down. Oh, it shot guns at him. Shooting guns at him, real guns. They're blasting at the police. They shot at the police.
Our officers were called to the area of Brooklyn College on a large crowd and shots fired in the area. As they were deploying, to investigate what was going on at First and Broadway. Shots rang out and 2 of our officers were shot. Both officers are currently undergoing treatment at University Hospital. One is in alert and stable. The other officer is currently undergoing surgery and stable. We do have 1 suspect in custody.
And I had a name there. Hold on just a second on that suspect. And apparently some of the earlier things I heard were not true. And that's why I always like to verify before I go forward with any of this. The name I have, and I just had a name, just a second. I hate when you move like that. Okay. All right, bear with me, folks. Only a few minutes. I just had that story up, and you know how that goes. I touched the screen and messed up. Let's see, shooter. Oh, that's the wrong guy. Okay, hold on. All right, this is my, I know this seems a little disorganized today. It's because, there is so much going on today. I'll tell you what, let's play this brief clip and maybe I can find what I'm looking for, because this also happened today. The President of the United States went to pay his respects. He even wore a mask. He went to pay his respects for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and he was welcomed with this response. Vote him out. I'm down with that. I almost wish he weren't wearing that mask so we could see the look on his face. He didn't stick around long, did he? Now, some people saying, oh, wait a minute, that was like doing that at a funeral. Knowing Ginsburg's feelings about this president, I'm sure she's probably looking down from heaven laughing. So don't worry about that aspect of it. I think she would have been just fine with that. In fact, if you remember the early days of his administration, Supreme Court justices typically are apolitical, but she actually made some negative comments about Trump. So there was no love lost there. But anyway, hey, that wasn't a Trump rally, was it, Mr. Trump? That's what a lot of America thinks of you. And apparently he was a little shocked. This is what I've been saying for weeks when the Trump rallies weren't going on. It's almost like he's a junkie and they're his drug. He can stand in front of that crowd and get all that adulation. He can say whatever he wants to say, no matter how outrageous, and they love it. It's an applause line. But there are millions of you out there that have stopped applauding a long time ago. You don't think it's funny. You don't think it's cute. And that will make the difference in November. Get out there and vote. And I keep pushing it. Make sure you're registered in the state of Ohio. You've got to be registered by October 5th. Get it done. Get it done. Because this is probably, I know for myself, this is probably the most important election in my lifetime. There's so much out there. There's so much at stake. We're out of time here. The name I was looking for, the guy is 26 years old, has shot the cops. And apparently this does not, I know I'm stereotyping here, but the way it's Lorenzo, but the way he spells it, I'm thinking this could be a black guy after all. And I know I'm not being racist. I'm just saying sometimes in the last 20, 30 years, some black people have gotten kind of creative with their names. If I had a kid, he'd have the whitest name in America. Why invite trouble? But anyway, that's just me talking. But I mean, this guy's name, like I said, it's Lorenzo, and it's not Lorenzo, it's Lorenzo. It's spelled Larynzo. That's the guy's name, Lorenzo Johnson, 26, and he's charged with 14 counts. Check it out on your news. I'll be back on Tuesday. I want to say thanks, Mario. All right. And I want to thank you for being patient with a rather, a little bit uneven program, but I hope somewhere in all this I dispense some information that you can use. I'm Mo Ray saying, as I always do, keep your eyes on the